Hello, everyone, and welcome to Your Mind, Your Reality, Your Results, a weekly show where I interview an expert in the subject of mindset so you can change your mindset and ultimately get the amazing results that you want in your life. This week, I'd like to welcome Oliver to the show. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been a privilege. Thank you. I'm so grateful for being here.
Awesome. Well, you guys are going to love the show today. If we haven't met before, my name's Leah Fink, and I'm the owner and founder of All Thrive, and I help protect people from the pain of damaged relationships. So if you ever want to discuss that, I'm happy to connect and would love to have those conversations. But today we have an expert in here, and you want to be able to capitalize on his knowledge. So if you have any comments, any questions, please feel free to put those in the comment box so we can address them. Even if you are not watching this live, feel free to put those in because then we can get back to you with some answers. So to start off, I know you have a fantastic story. Oliver, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came to become a parenting coach?
Sure. I'm going to give you a short version for now.
Yeah, great.
So, my name is Oliver Levy, originally born in Jamaica, currently reside in Canada, and I'm an online parenting coach and a retired yeller. I have three beautiful kids: 29-year-old King, a 39-year-old Prince, and a 10-year-old Princess. And it's been over 5 years now since I've been start mentoring and helping parents to raise resilient, respectful kids without being frustrated. And it's interesting because I never thought in my younger days that that could be possible, and a lot of parents think that it couldn't be possible. But most parents who graduate from my program realize that yes, it is possible to raise respectful, resilient kids, kids who listen all the time without being, frustrated and without the ordering, directing, and correcting. So that's me. How I get started was, Leah, when you're smaller or when you're a teenager, or, and you start thinking about, do I want kids? Do I want a family? And in my mind, I always wanted how my family's going to be, my wife and kids and house and this and that, all that stuff. And my first relationship with my 29-year-old, I realized that I was far from that reality. When my son was about 7 years old, I started doing the same thing that I said I wasn't going to do with my kids, what my parents did with me, because, we just had a different experience. And I find myself doing the same thing because guess what? I There's nothing else. I didn't know of anything else. And then fast forward to, then I lost that relationship really quick because and then forward to my current wife right now, which with my two youngest kids, I find myself doing the same thing, Leah. And I said, wow, something got to give. The common denominator here is me, and I need to make a change. And that was perfect timing because that's when I was really kind of getting into personal development. Try to change a few things from the way I was raised because a lot of different trauma. Trauma comes with different elements into a relationship. And so after just, peel back a few layers in my life, I certain things start become clearer to me that I need to fix certain things so I can strengthen my relationship. So now I can start, own in on, being effective father. So and that was it. And since then, I had my own basketball program, and I start implement a few things that I've learned through the personal development and through just wanting to be a better dad and try to figure out the most effective ways to do things other than yelling and screaming and slapping and all the other things that I was doing with my kids. And most parents that was in my program, I was giving them tips and tools, and they say like, Oliver, after about a year and a half, 2 years, they say, Oliver, you need to do something else with parenting. And I was like, okay, all right. I didn't really listen to that too much, but I kept going. After a while, it started coming to me, and you got, your gut feeling. And then that's when I
Yeah.
start embracing it. And a few parents say, you know what, we're going to take you up on your offer. We're going to pay you. We want you to, teach us, or you've been teaching the kids because we're seeing a different results and stuff like that. And that was it. That was about 5, 6 years ago. That's the short version.
Oh yeah, no,
Later on, you
I
can
know
ask me
there's
questions, but that's the short version.
yeah, no, you have a fantastic story. And what I particularly loved that you highlighted is this piece of when you were young, of course, you learned whatever relationship skills from your family. This is how we all learn our first steps into relationships, just by observing what's around us. And you taking that opportunity to learn those skills, develop yourself, is such a critical step for people. I mean, that's what I work with as well, is helping people gain those skills. And I want to encourage people that if you're watching this today and you're thinking, well, I don't have kids, this is not helpful for me, definitely don't take that approach. The things that Oliver is going to give us are important to all our family, whether that's spouses, parents, found family, the people that you care about. Relationship skills are things that we all need to develop and are very cross different types of relationships. So I'm really excited to have you here. So maybe let's start too by talking a little bit about what kinds of problems or challenges you see in families. Like, what are they coming to you with?
First of all, I like the fact that you talk about relationships. I'm going to start there.
Great.
What I find most is there's so many different problems, but to narrow it down to one category is that a lot of parents don't really. So here's the thing, Leah. Most parents, I would say most parents, a lot of parents understand the dynamics of a parent-child relationship. But I
Yeah.
don't think they're so mindful of being aware of how effective it is, how ineffective it is if that relationship is not strong when it comes to dealing with the child misbehavior.
Yep.
So one of the problem is that mind shift, that mindset shift in terms of, we were raised, right? We were raised with, in a more authoritarian kind of era where, either the man create the roles and the woman follow, or the woman always in the kitchen deal with the kids and all the stuff, and your boss at work will be fire you without any really questions. That's kind of authoritarian kind of approach we kind of came with. Now we're in a more democratic environment. So what happened is parents are not making that shift in terms of a child should be treated with dignity and respect even though they might misbehave. So, and we think that, I'm not sure if, with your culture, but my culture is that kids should be seen and not heard. So, nowadays it's the actual opposite. So I think that's one of the biggest problem now with parents in terms of not understanding that that relationship comes first before everything else. The parent-child relationships has to be there, the base before you even start to talk about or try to figure out how to deal with their misbehavior. So I would say that's the biggest problem parents are facing, or that I'm seeing that parents are having.
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense, because there is that piece of, once again, intergenerational learning. If you don't know any differently, how are you going to find that? I personally love the phrase connect before correct, right? So that idea, and that's, I think, about a bit about what we're going to talk about today, is without reaching out first to recognize there is relationship, that you care about this person. That's why you're maybe trying to help them with their behavior. If it's not working, they're not going to want to listen to you, right? They have
That's
no
right.
interest in correcting that behavior. And this, like I said, applicable across all relationships.
That's right.
So,
Relationships is it's pretty much right across the board in all industries. We're in a relationship building business.
so let's start out. So people are having some challenges. It's a very natural human thing with wanting to help other people correct behaviors and things like that, and instead they're getting into this authoritarian. What's the first step to? Is it recognizing this so you can move away from it? What would you say?
The first step in terms of recognizing that there's an issue, or recognize, what do you mean by recognizing
Uh,
that?
Yeah, the first step in getting to a better relationship, I guess.
Okay, so the first step is to really understand, first of all, what is causing the misbehavior. Because I mean, it's what you want to do is with parents or with adults is you want to kind of give them what they want, and then you kind of provide them what they really need. So when it comes to just talking about, oh, let's connect first, parents not with that. People are not with that. Connect. What do you mean? I just want to fix this thing. But how I bridge that gap is, allow them to understand that there's reasons why the child is misbehaving. It's not that the child hates you or like not liking your approach, but there's an underlying issue here, that there's an underlying reason, a deeper reason than what you're seeing. Right. For example, they're not doing their homework or they're back talking to you. It's not because they really want to disrespect you. There's an underlying issue that it's part of their ingrained biological needs. Right? Here we go. The needs. I'm going to talk about needs all the time. When we provide that need for them, first of all, we have to know what those needs are. We
Yeah.
provide those needs for them. Then now the relationship becomes a little bit easier to really help parents to understand, oh, aha, see how important the relationship is when it comes to providing this specific needs. So the first thing I'll do is help them to understand what's lacking in the child. So that's why these needs are popping up, or that's why these reactions, that's why these behaviors are popping up.
Yeah, well, this is one of the first things when we first met that we connected about was this idea of needs based uh, understanding of people, and I do a lot of work with nonviolent communication, and one of the pieces from there is this idea that all negative behavior is a tragic expression of unmet needs. Right? We're
Yes,
always trying to meet these, and like not needs like I need you to do something, but like those deep emotional needs like belonging and mastery and a sense of purpose in the world. All those pieces are critical because we're all trying to meet them. All adults have bad behavior too. This could be applying to your older parents, that they're
that's
doing a
right.
behavior that you don't think is great. They also have unmet
That's
needs.
right. I call it adult tantrums.
Oh, that's so true. Okay, so now the parents start to recognize that these kids have needs, or you're recognizing that other people in your life have these needs leading to behaviors. What next?
No, it's no, you connect. Just like you said, we have to connect before we correct. So now you start connect with them. And when I said connect, I'm talking about deeper emotional connection. Obviously, there's a few tools that I teach parents how to connect with them, and that is it. Game is over when you connect emotionally in any relationships. And you know the interesting thing, Leah? Obviously, when you have a partner or a spouse, with my wife and I, we've been married for this year's gonna be 15 years. And obviously we had, some ups and downs and some tricky moments, and it tests your emotions, right? And over the last 5 years, by teaching this, just the connection part, the emotional connection part, I start learning that, okay, this is not only for kids, this is for adults, because we're in a relationship building. So I start using the same tools with my wife. And there's certain things, even up until a couple months ago, probably 3, 4 months ago, that I was, gathered with all the kids and stuff. And I asked the kids, did you see a difference in mom over the last couple of years? They're like, yeah, right. It's not like I'm throwing her under the bus, but she's not aggressive anymore. She's not, carry on when it's certain things. And, when she's upset, she's not, she those emotions are a little bit less. And, I've talked to my wife, and, obviously only by then she kind of realized, but she didn't know what was happening with her. And, and it's only because I really zone in on start connecting with her. And just like, I
Yeah.
said, and I always believe this, you know, it takes two to tangle, but it takes one to change that relationship.
Yeah.
And we have to really understand that. A lot of people don't, because people say, well, it takes two to tangle, it takes two to get out, or it always takes two to solve it. No, one person, because once I start implement these simple tools and strategies and techniques to connect more with her on an emotional level, no, watch this now. I'm start getting the payoff that I always wanted, right? She's more nicer to me now, right? So to speak. And now I don't have to really check my emotions anymore. I'm a little bit more free now because I'm putting in the work. And sometimes parents, and I've talked to parents about this, and including dads, and some dads who said to me, but yes, I know, I understand, we all have different baggages based on how we're raised and our environment and how we carry ourselves. However, when you're in a relationship and you make that adjustment, the other person makes the adjustment. You know what they always say, somebody got to be the bigger one. Well, I get it, but we're not here talking about bigger or more superior or inferior. We're just talking about you, whatever you want. If you want that, because I want a relationship real bad. I'm a family person. I love to see my family together, so I want it really bad. So you need to put in that work, and then once you put in that work, the other person shift automatically. It is so it's magic. And so that's the next step in terms of that connection has to happen. That emotional connection has to happen, whether it's the partner, because sometimes when you have parents together or the co-parents, they always have different views of how to raise a child. So that connection needs to happen. You're not going to be on all levels and all the time, but certain things you must be emotionally connected. So it's much easier. So I would say connection is the next step.
Yeah. Well, I absolutely love that. And this is what we talked about for the title of the show, obviously, is that change can start with one person. It doesn't have to be that everyone's instantly in the same place. It takes that time. You can work on it. One of the family therapists that I had the pleasure of working with at the addiction program I worked with like to call these PIPs. So you're pathologizing interpersonal patterns. That's a really complicated way of saying that we get into these patterns with people. And this is where the one person can break things. So person A doesn't like something, so they tell the other person to do something. Person two's reaction is to shout that they don't want to do it. Person A's reaction is to tell them to do it even more. And it just keeps escalating. So it becomes this like spiral of escalating. And when one person breaks that pattern, the spiral stops.
That's
Right. So
it.
then it doesn't keep going in the same place. So what you're saying is so true about this piece of how one person stepping out of a habitual way where the problem always happens can change that whole pattern. I absolutely love it.
That's right. And it's interesting too, because I didn't know about PIPs. I love that idea because I also try to empower parents on the level of just the mindset, because when you're coaching you have to have a mindset piece, and it's really important when it comes to you know there's patterns. You talk about patterns, so we have to understand. I'm not sure if you know, or the audience knows, that there's three ego states we all have, right? We have the parent ego state, the child ego state, and adult ego state. And we fluctuate between these ego states whenever we have in communication. When we have a relationship, especially with somebody that we see on a regular basis, doesn't have to be our partner or our spouse or our kids, but somebody that we communicate with all the time. And there's patterns there, and there's ways to kind of adjust. We're talking about emotional intelligence piece, right? One-on-one. Adjust
Yeah.
your emotions based on where the person's at. So you might ask a question, and your question might come off as a parent ego state, right? Or so it triggers that person to, like you're saying, answer this way.
Yeah.
Well, you now have to understand that, oh, And then, okay, that response I wasn't really expecting. So let me match that person and bring the conversation here so we can elevate the conversation. So you now have to really make that adjustment based on those three ego states. And I kind of go in detail when it comes to the three ego
Yeah.
states and understand what these are. And most parents would say, yeah, because they can understand, when they're talking to their child. This is the reason why our our mindset and our approach triggers a child to do certain things that we don't want because how we're approaching the child. So we have to kind of understand how to fluctuate between the all three ego states. But to your point, when it comes to the pip, I would love to kind of dig into the pip because it sounds very similar.
Yeah, I mean, and we've talked before, and this is we've had great conversations. We just use different language for similar ideas. One of the pieces I've seen too with people, because relationship skills can be challenging. They're not an instantaneous thing. Um, and it can be frustrating sometimes when you feel like you are the one putting in the effort now, right? You can be the one making the change in the relationship. And you talked about, taking years for your wife to start adjusting in these ways. What should people kind of expect, do you think, in terms of consistency and commitment? Because I don't think it's realistic that you learn one skill and instantly all your kids are going to listen to you perfectly and your wife's going to respond differently.
No,
What do you
because
think about that?
we're not dealing with robots. Right? And people have to expect that because we're not dealing with robots, other people, whether it's spouse or kids or a boss, whatever it is, they're going through things too. They're going through a wave of emotions. You don't know what's happening the morning they woke up. You don't know the news that they got. You have no idea the child's mind. You have no idea what they're feeling. You don't have no idea the conversation they had with their friends at school. You just have no idea that triggers emotions. So consistency is one that you can't really give up. First of all, you have to have a strong belief system in what are you trying to accomplish? What are your job objective? I said that for me, the relationship and my family is important. So I focus on that and be consistent in that. And we can't expect the other person, like you said, to really, in a week or even a month, really make that shift. Because guess what? They probably have way more layers to peel back than you, or they probably have less. You don't know, right? So we just have to really understand people. We really have to understand that it takes time to make adjustment. We really have to understand that we have to be able to trust the process. We want to talk about trusting the process, but what does that really look like? We have to have patience and being consistent. So I would really own in on that.
That's a great place to start. And I especially like that you talked about, honestly, the emotional commitment someone needs. Because once again, I wish relationship stuff was easy. If anyone ever promises you that they'll give you one step that your relationship's instantly going to be perfect, probably a snake oil salesman. Do not believe them. It
Yeah.
does take that emotional investment in that time. And I appreciate Greg joining us. Just says preach. Yep, good. You're on the same page, Greg. I love it.
And you know what? And it's not supposed to be easy too, because we as people, we thrive on challenges. Believe it or not. We all, when we down at rock bottom, we wish we could win the millions, or wish we could have everything that we want. When we get there, life is empty because there's no challenge. So, you really have to really understand that. So, yes, it's supposed to be tough, not like hard or difficult, but it's supposed to be tough and challenging. So, I just want to throw that in there.
No, I love it. Okay, so hopefully this isn't going too sidetracked, but I had the pleasure of watching you do a short presentation on Monday, and I really liked one of the points you brought up in terms of consistency is creating a consistent, ritual or experience with your family. Would you be able to describe maybe a step people could take with that in the next couple minutes here?
For sure. And what I didn't really explain in that presentation purposely is that that's also part of emotional bonding. That's also part of, that emotional connection that I always talk about. But I don't call it that, right? Because, some people. But what that means is, man, Leah, the family dynamics is so synchronized and full of unity. But when I started that, I don't remember when was that. I think my 10-year-old daughter was probably 5. I think about 5 years ago. But when I started that, the kids were all, kids, they'll fight each other, whatever it is. Now they're scheduling time to be with each other. They're chilling, they're having fun. The conversation they're having, I never thought they would have those conversations together. And like I said, my wife, that also helped my wife to kind of shift too, because the piece there when it comes to, what Leah is talking about is the ritual called family meeting. And it's not your regular family meeting. This is not when something goes wrong, you call a meeting. That's something else. But this is a time where we all come together for some purposeful, meaningful connection, where we have an agenda, and the agenda is just fun. First, you have the compliment and appreciation, where each one of us are compliment or appreciate each other. That was very difficult in the beginning, Leah, because my daughter didn't want to really compliment my son because he always get her upset, right? And
Yeah.
then now they love coming to the meeting because of that piece. They love, giving each other compliment and appreciation. Next one on the agenda was calendar, where we just talk about, we have a master calendar where we write. Right now my kids know that I'm doing a presentation right now, and they're off of school because the school canceled today because of the weather. So we all know what each one of us are doing for the entire week. So we talk about that for a few minutes, and then we get into allowance. An allowance doesn't tie to anything at all, not tied to chores, nothing. We just give them a few dollars so they learn about money, and they put a couple, percentage in that bin, in that can, 10 percentage here, and they kind of learn about money. And then we have snack. This is all the agenda. Then we have snack time, and then one person can prepare snack. And these rotation. Then the last on the list, we have fun family activity where we play a game or something short, something fun. And all these roles and responsibility, all these agenda items rotates each week. So if I'm the chair this week, and there's a script where, I say, welcome to the 50th family meeting. Thank you for allowing me to be the chair for this meeting. And, the roles and response. My assistant is my daughter. So the person who decide the snack is this. The person who decide the family fun activity is this. So this is the layout of the family meeting. And it's such a great way, and they're always looking forward to this meeting like every single week. And sometimes we take a break, like a couple months break, right, purposely. And then so yeah, so I just want to thank you for bringing that up. But that's just create a ritual in terms of the family bonding and emotional bonding within the family.
Yeah. Well, and the reason I wanted to mention that is because that consistency piece is so important. Like you mentioned, for positive feedback and affirmation, that we might get lost in the day to day and start nagging more than we're saying the positive things. Ritual itself and ceremony is really healthy and important for human brains and how we developed. I mean, we have a Sunday night fire here where we invite family and friends every week, and it's a similar premise. And, it's because of that, you want to create that sense of community, of belonging, especially within the family, that everyone does belong, everyone matters, everyone can participate in a different way every week. It's just fantastic. So I wanted to make sure that people did hear about that, whether you're making it with kids, your spouse, whoever in your life that you care about.
And it's interesting because we took that on the next level, and we have a 10 rules, and one of the rules, I'm just looking on the rules here. One of the rules is, where is it? Encourage a family member each week, right? So a lot of times when it comes to compliment appreciation, this is almost like an advanced skill where even some adults, when they get a compliment, they don't know how to receive it. And if you don't know how to receive it, you're blocking other blessings. This is just one of the universal law. So somebody say, I would say, Leah, wow, you did you hear? And it looks so nice. I did it last week. I have to do it again. Uh, what about thank you? Right?
Yeah.
You just kind of blush it off. Uh, so, and once we do that, I mean, I'm not saying you're in danger, but once we do these kind of things, then we're kind of blocking our blessings, and we have to learn how to receive compliment because it's unusual for us. That's why.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's so sad. I mean, that's an overall society piece. So take away from this, please go to someone you care about, tell them how much you appreciate them. But sadly, we're already at the end of our time. I could talk with you for ages about this stuff. I feel
Already?
like Greg could probably talk with us too because he likes this stuff apparently as well. But I understand that there's a way that people can contact you if they have some questions and maybe want to start chatting about their own family dynamics.
Yeah, for sure. So they can contact me is I if you can put the link there
We will put the link in there.
in my Calendly, or you can go to my website at mindfulparentingtoolkit.com. Go and follow me on all social media, Mindful Parenting Toolkit, and you can see my link tree, and then you can just choose which way you want to get in contact with me. But it's a great way to contact me because Lee, what I'm trying to do moving forward is provide a few, you know, like breakthrough game changing workshops complimentary for parents so parents can really understand because it's so important, especially nowadays. So if your audience get a hold of me either through my Calendly or you go on my website, you'll see the link and I'll give you a free complimentary, obviously, workshop, an hour and a half, and that workshop will change your world. And you pretty much see results in your spouse, whether it's annoying spouse, whether it's kids, teenagers, you see results in them within 7 days, for
Wow.
sure. I don't guarantee many things, but that I guarantee because
Right.
emotional connection, emotional bond is like magic.
Well, I love it. I certainly think if you have questions, want your relationships with your family to be better, especially with your kids, please reach out to Oliver. He's been so generous with his ideas and sharing this with people. So I want to thank you just so much for being on the show. This was absolutely fantastic.
It's great. Love it. It's been a pleasure. We talk a few times. I can talk with you for days. I learn a lot from you. And it's just been an absolutely pleasure. And I'd love to be back whenever you want me back. So it's great and I love it. Thank you so much for having me.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for being here. And thank you everyone for watching. We will see you next week.
See you.